Tuesday, April 14th, 2015. Staff of the Historical Society meeting and co-op presentation. PowerPoint presentation.
She'll take over for you. Don't encourage. You need to encourage her. Never, and I said, never.
Good.
Good? Yes, I am. Good. I'm fine. Oh, with my well, no, that's not true. Good for you. I drive by your house. I just put a new roof on my house, and I take 5 ceilings out of 7 in my house.
The tree on start all raise all collect the money. Parking
did you make out this winter?
Pretty much locked in with the snow.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have any more sheets.
No.
Cats in the wall.
You don't do house demolitions though, do you, Bruce? You don't do house demolitions.
Not on purpose.
I may give them a call.
No, I just got into this morning.
What do you do with it? Do you drag them back in the woods?
I keep them.
I got some maple syrup. I now my eyes are oh yeah, pretty hard to start. Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's already three up at the end of Highville Road and Colburn Road. Yeah. On Highville Road, you said Council Road.
Yep.
Yeah. About 3 or 4 houses up, same side as the mill. Yeah. The green. Go past the mill, the hill. And about 3 or 4 houses, the greenhouse. Before you get the pinky whites of old paper place, a couple houses. It's on that same side of the road. And he built a sugar shack. Very nice.
Gotta sit in front of you.
The other end of Highville Road, up by Stafford Street, he collects a lot of sap and buckets. His father's property is there. There's the old oh yeah.
He called me up.
Really? You told me last time you weren't going to do it.
Thank you. I don't know. I just walked right
My wife likes it.
We'll find it.
in Rossi. I was born and brought up in Stafford County. Yes. And May Royce, working on the picture, in the Penn School. And I was told you were doing an article about Stafford County. I've been there since day one. I'm 83, so Well, you name it because I'm like in and out. The night time's about anytime, 5, 6, you know, I look around so you're not interrupting supper or anything like that. Yeah, I might have some info. Well, this will help. Yeah.
We'll find out. You'll find out.
That's fine. There's not much in it.
Okay, I think we're going to get started a little bit late. Sorry about that. Things are a little bit crazy here tonight. First of all, I'd like to welcome guests tonight. We have several here, and if any guests would like to become members, you can do that later on tonight. We're always looking for new members, and the most frequent excuse I get from people for not joining is, well, I don't know anything about Stafford history. Well, that's okay. That's why you join, to learn about Stafford history. So please consider joining if you're not a member already. Okay, we will start off here with the reading of the minutes from our last meeting.
This was March 10th, 2015. David Bartlett, the president, welcomed guests, members, and new members. Kathy Bacchiacchi read the minutes from the last meeting. Jean Bartlett gave a treasurer's report. We now have $3,322.19 in the checking, $10,716.93 in the renovation fund. There was no correspondence. We had quite a few acquisitions, pages and pages of typed acquisitions, and I was doing it at 11 o'clock last night. But so I'll skip those, but they're in the record. Becky Krausman talked about the photo project. She said some of the pictures have been put on Facebook and that there were 9 cabinets of photos, and she's gotten through 1 cabinet. If you have photos after April, she'll make appointments to scan people's photos. She'll go to their house with the scanner or meet at the Historical Society. David passed around a clipboard for sign up for open houses. Dave announced that some of our photos are now hanging in Sabor 44 on Main Street. In the beginning of February, the Historical Society furnace went out and Bruce Davis got it fixed. At the beginning of March, there was an ice dam outside and a contractor got it out. Brian Phelps, who grew up in Stafford, has written a book about Stafford called The Oral Histories Project of Staffordville, Connecticut. Brian talked about his book and how he wrote it. Then Joe Phelps of the Connecticut Historical Society presented a program remembering G. Fox and Company in the 1950s. The meeting adjourned at 7:45. Respectfully submitted, Kathy Bacchiacchi.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any additions, corrections to the secretary's report? If not, we have a motion to accept, please. Okay, Patty makes a motion to accept. Second to the motion? Janet? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, we will continue with the treasurer's report.
In the checking account as of the March meeting, we have $3,322.19. Since then, we've taken in $52 in dues and 14 cents in interest. On the debit side, we paid $186 for our March program, and I reimbursed David Bartlett for our stereopticon view that he had purchased. So we currently have in our checking account $3,148.58. In the renovation fund, as of March, we had $10,716.93. In donations, we've taken in $4, and we have 45 cents in interest. So we currently have $10,721.38. In the schoolhouse account, as of the March meeting, we have $1,974.31. We have taken in $90 in donations in memory of Mike Hayden, and interest of 8 cents. So we currently have $2,064.39. Respectfully submitted to the Bartlett Treasurer.
Okay, any questions on the treasurer's report? If not, we have a motion to accept. Motion. Molly, second to the motion. Bob, all in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I want to mention something now so you can think about it and we can take care of it a little bit later. At our April meeting every year, we have to form a nominating committee, which is usually 3 people. Probably the easiest committee we have of any committees we have, because you can get most of your work done tonight. But I do need 3 people to be on the nominating committee, so please think about that, and I'll ask later on for 3 volunteers, okay? Also, I'm going to pass around the other clipboard to sign up for open house. Our next open house is on Sunday, May 17th. Normally, we're open on the 2nd Sunday of the month, but the 2nd Sunday in May is Mother's Day, so we always open on the 3rd Sunday in May. So I'm looking for people for Sunday, May 17th. I have no one signed up as of this point, so please check the calendar and sign up if possible. We'll have your pen here anyway, so. All right, I'll start over here, okay? All right, let's see. Oh, we had an open house this past Sunday, and there were quite a few of us there. I'd like to thank everybody, by the way, who showed up. Bob Carnes was there, and Elmer and Jean Hartenstein. Judy Moquin was there, Jim and Nancy Long, and Ed Bryce, and myself. And we had about, I'd say 12, 15 people come in, wouldn't you say, Bob?
Yes.
And they were really interested in things, and it was a good day. We were kind of surprised because it was such nice weather. One of the first days, nice weather, we didn't know if we'd have any visitors or not, but we did, so it was a good day. We have some new acquisitions, and I had everything set out over here before. I thought I was very organized, and then so many people brought in new acquisitions tonight. I was a little bit overwhelmed, but that's okay. We have a whole lot of things here that Patty Gregan donated to us. The Warren of Stafford blanket, old bottle from McCormick Drug Store. This is an old page from the Stafford Springs Hotel Register. It's got all ads on it. This is probably from around, I would say, 1890 or so. Several photographs here, an advertisement. The Staffordville Troubadours were providing the entertainment at the Congregational Vestry in 1904. Special edition of the Stafford Press that was printed like this back in 1938 during the Hurricane Week. They couldn't get the regular presses working. A book on the history of the Methodist Episcopal Church. Let's see, Talon County Conference of the Congregational Churches, which was held in Stafford. Information about the Stafford High School graduating class 1918. That was pretty much what I had when I came in tonight. Then, after I got here, we have a map that was donated by Florence Polans. This map is actually from an 1869 atlas. It shows all the different school districts on it. Francis Pippin donated, what we think this is Stafford used to have a trolley, and we think this was inside the trolley car, we're getting up, and if you couldn't get us in, we'll hold on to that. Yeah. Okay. Fern Green donated a book called Free America, which has a big story in there about the co-op, actually. And some photographs of Home Pride, and a photograph of mill workers, and I'm happy to say every one of them is identified on the back. But so often we get these with no identifications at all. Okay, let's see. Patty also brought in tonight, these are some copies of photos of different old-timers in Stafford. Harley Converse, Solva Converse, and Julius Converse. A poster from the Stafford Fair, and that's 1951. And this is a calendar from Frankie Mogul, retail liquor dealer, Stafford Springs, Connecticut, from 1906. Let's see. Elmer, you brought in some things. Why don't you mention what you brought in, because I didn't even have a chance to really look at them yet, okay?
I just found a torch from 1950 and a box of Crayola chalk from the National with the tag on it, and a time book from Leo Venturini's construction company.
Okay, thank you. And Diane brought in some things from Maple Grove, Napier, Stafford Tavern. I guess they have a tag sale at the Stafford Tavern today. And Diane picked up some things from the tavern that had a chance just to glance at quickly. And actually, I think that's where the things that Patty brought in came from today, too, correct? What else did I leave out? I brought in something and I didn't mention. I don't want to leave anybody out. Any other acquisitions? All right, I have one other thing, actually. Brian Phelps, who grew up in Staffordville and wrote a book on oral history in Staffordville, he donated this painting to us last month, but most people didn't see it because he didn't bring it in until after. Oh, there you are, Brian. I didn't realize you're here. Okay. He didn't bring it in until the meeting was over. So this is a painting taken from Stafford Street, the hill going down, and here's Staffordville Lake here, and here's the church, and so forth. And Brian, make sure I get this story right. Your grandfather, who was an owner of Phelps and Cunningham store, took this in as payment for goods that somebody either couldn't afford to pay cash for or something. So, and I did a little research. It's done by a painter named D.A. Fisher, who was quite well known and did hundreds of paintings, landscapes and seascapes he specialized in. And I just looked on eBay, for example, and there are several of his paintings on eBay right now, and they're not cheap either. He was a pretty well-known painter, I guess. So this is something really special. Okay, any other acquisitions? Anybody think of anything else? No? Okay. All right. Brian, let me ask you this. Do you have your book tonight?
I do.
In case people want to buy copies of your book? Okay, very good. We'll take care of that later, all right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Gene, I'm going to embarrass you for a minute, okay? Gene has been a member for a long, long time, and I think this is probably your last meeting, at least as a resident of Stafford.
I'm moving May 11th.
She's moving May 11th, which is the day before our next meeting. Now, over the years, I don't know if there's anything in the organization Jean hasn't done. She pretty well organized our files down at the museum. She's acted as hostess for open houses countless times. She bakes almost every month for our meetings. She telephones hosts and hostesses to remind them that they're scheduled to be at the next open house. She telephones people to bake for the meetings, and I'm sure there's a lot more that she does too that I haven't mentioned, but I just want to thank you, Jean, for everything you've done for us.
Let me add that there are many of us that will miss her greatly.
Well, I thank you. It's been a great group.
Well, you've been a great friend and a wonderful person to work with, Gina. We're going to miss you and love you always.
You can come and see me.
We'll be there. Are you going to bake?
I have a kitchen.
Okay, there's, Jean just gave us the Spellman genealogy, which was one of Mike's ancestors. So I said I'd bring it down to the Historical Society as soon as I read it.
Okay.
Thank you, Jean.
5 years from now.
It's a little light reading.
Okay. Now, Jeff, it's your turn to embarrass you here for a minute. I don't know if you know Jeff Lysachowski. He's sitting down the end down here. Born and raised in Stafford, lives in Vernon right now. Jeff has been coming down to the museum faithfully for a couple of years now, I guess, on Monday nights when we have our...
About a year.
Year, maybe? Okay, all right. And he asked me if he could borrow a picture so he could do a painting of it. So I said, sure. So he borrowed this picture here, which is of the Stafford Springs Fire Department in 1920. And at that time, the fire department building was the building that is Shamrock Cleaners now, right across the street from Cumberland Farms. So there they are sitting on the fire truck in front of Cumberland Farms, in front of Shamrock Plains, I should say. Jeff took that photo and he made that painting of it, which is absolutely gorgeous. The detail on here is phenomenal. And he also borrowed this picture here, which is taken from East Main Street. You would be standing right in front of the post office here, looking over toward Main Street. This was the Stafford National Bank. It was washed away in the flood of 1877. This is the Congregational Church, which was also washed away in the flood of 1877. So Main Street would be right here. This is where the Stone Church is now. This is where the parking lot next to the town hall is now. So Jeff took that photo and did this painting. So, and again, the detail is just fantastic on here. Now, Jeff is going to sell prints of these paintings. If anyone is interested in a print, and Jeff, I think we said this one was 35,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And the fire department one is 40.
Right.
Okay? And if you're interested, you can get in touch with Jeff. You can talk to him tonight, or we have his number on here. These are going to hang up down in the museum. And Jeff is going to donate 10% of the proceeds to the Historical Society. So, yeah, thank you, Jeff. It's a great project here. So I was telling somebody about it. Beck's all good. Now we can paint all the rest of our photos. We were estimating today. We have to have more than 10,000 photos. So
Gotta get started.
hold down some spare time.
Human scanner.
And all these will be up here later on for you to take a look at. If you'd like to take a look at any new acquisitions, you can do that. And after Becky gives her presentation, this whole table here is actually co-op items that we have in our collection. All right, let me see here. Okay. Do I have anybody who would like to be on our nominating committee, now that you've had time to think about it? Need 3 people. Okay, Patty? Fran?
I'm fine.
There's
Good,
2.
Becky. You got it.
It's Becky, okay. So Patty, Fran, and Becky, and you know what you need to do before you've been on the committee before, so. Okay. Oh, I just want to remind you of one thing. Becky, well, several months ago, set up a Facebook page for us, and she's been posting a lot of the photos that she's been scanning there, and it's creating a lot of interest, a lot of comments. If you haven't looked at it, please do so. Just go to Facebook, type in at the top Stafford Historical Society, and it'll bring you right to our page, and check out the photos, and make comments if you want. It's really got us out there a little bit more than we would have been. A lot of good publicity for us, so. Okay, I think that's all I had on my agenda.
Just one thing, next month, I'm the only person signed up to be a hostess, and if anybody hasn't served as host or hostess yet, and would like to help me out, I really would appreciate it if you let me know after.
That's the bake for the meeting,
To
correct?
bake for the meeting. Yeah, thank you. I'll help.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No? Okay. Anything else? Anyone have anything else I'd like to bring up? Okay, well, I was hoping to be done by 7:30, and it's 7:28, so.
And we have.
And after a few technical difficulties, I think we're all set here for our presentation tonight. Becky has been working very hard, putting things together about the co-op. And Becky, would you like me to turn off a couple of lights back here or something? Okay. Let me go back here for a couple of switches and see.
First of all, I apologize for being so distracted, running around trying to get. We've had one problem after another. I really thought it was going to be up here passing around pictures. I mean, okay. If you can't hear me, let me know, please. And if you have any questions or anything that you can add to this, then please speak up. If I I don't hear you, somebody else shout at me, because, you know, sometimes if I get this, I don't. All right, first I'm going to talk very quickly about our scanning project, because, you know, it's kind of a nebulous thing. It's like, okay, great, you're scanning photos, you know, what is it all about? And so I just put this together. Our goals are to digitize all of the Historical Society's collection. It's stereopticons, photographs, and postcards. I'm also scanning the extensive collections of scrapbooks that we have. Many ladies, I believe, had you know, cut articles out of the newspaper from, gosh, about 1850 well into the 1900s, and these are a wonderful source of information. Oh, yeah, that would be good. Yes, sir. Thank you. I thought you asked if I wanted to make a phone call.
No, sorry. You want to make a phone call?
No. Thank you for asking. And we want to sponsor scanning events in town and have people bring photographs that they would like to have scanned and digitally give to us. And of course, our ultimate goal is to write an Images of America series book. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. The digital filing mimics the filing cabinet. We have 3 filing cabinets, 12 drawers, and they're broken down into sections. It's all very boring. Just a few of the pictures. It's been really fun finding some of these photos as I've gone along. I'm also cleaning them up digitally, improving them. This is Lieutenant Governor Hyde's house. And of course, the grand opening of the Historical Society. Dave and I both said, wow, it looked really clean. Thank you. Okay, does that help? No. A little bit? Okay, I can actually, I guess, talk on that. Figure that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, perhaps we need to have a spring cleaning and bring everybody down to, you know, wash some glass. And guess some of the other things, organizations, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, the Masons, the Lions Club, street photos. I mean, we have them ranging from, you know, the 1850s, basically, late 1850s, into the 21st century. Wellington Avenue, transportation. Now, this is the fun part, it's editing the photos, and this is what's taking me so long. It's a lovely photo, but you can't really tell what it is until you darken it. And it brings out a lot of the detail. This is from standing near Woodlawn, looking down into the town. That's the Methodist Church. And the kind of detail that you can see once you clean it up and you can blow it up. And so some of these photos, because they're fading, are going to be lost. And doing this, having them digitally stored, it will preserve them longer. I don't know how long they'll last. But, so that's the project. To date, I have scanned about 750 photos, and I'm not through the first drawer. So that's when Dave and I both said, wow, we have a lot of photos. But we're, you know, going to keep on going, and it's it definitely keeps me busy. All right, that's that for that one. Let me. All right, this is why everyone's here. The history of the Stafford Co-op. All of you know more about it than I do. So I feel like I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because probably you've had relatives who worked there, you worked there, you know, probably relatives who helped found it. So if you have any information to add, please just let me know. But I did some research. I hope I can tell you a few things you didn't know.
The cooperative was founded in 1911 by 40 Italian immigrant Stafford mill workers. It was first known as the Italian Cooperative and Social Club, and it was open only to Italians. The purpose was to save money on food bills by purchasing the staples such as sugar, flour, coffee, and cheeses at wholesale prices. Cooperatives were common in Italy up through the 1920s, so these men were familiar with it from home. So what was Stafford like about this time in 1911? This is a picture from 1908 when the trolley first came through. There were 5,200 people living in town. There was still a combination of manufacturing and farming. The Italians had started to immigrate around the turn of the century. In 1910, the census showed that there were 553 residents who were born in Italy living in town. The trolley was important because for a period of time, the Italian cooperatives and social club used it to have some of their purchases sent from Hartford into Stafford, and they could do it on same-day service. I should also mention that, a little belatedly, the reason I'm doing this is because of Florence Poland's. She recommended it. I'm very sorry she's not here tonight, but she had interviewed Attilio Serafin in 1979 and put it onto a cassette tape and done it as an oral history project. And luckily I was able to use that for some of the information because some of this isn't printed anywhere. All right, getting back to the co-op. Now, the co-op started to grow and they rented a small room on Furnace Avenue. They met every Saturday night. They also used it as a small store. And soon they had to purchase a horse and wagon. This is not theirs. This was the Campo brothers. They apparently have fruits and ice creams that they've delivered around town for quite a long period of time. But the Italian club would have had the same type of horse and wagon. Over the first 8 years, the cooperative struggled with leadership, experience, and knowledge. As Attilio Serafin said in a 1979 interview, they were just a group of textile workers trying to get together to save money. They didn't know anything about money management or business. In 1919, the mill workers organized, and 300 of them joined the Amalgamated Textile Workers Union. Because the cooperative was struggling with debt and management problems, they asked the new union to come in and take the cooperative over, which they did. The business was reorganized as the Workers' Cooperative Union, Inc. They recruited 120 unionized textile workers who each purchased a $5 share, and that brought some capital into the business and also helped with some of the leadership. And they appointed a board of directors. Now, this picture is not dated, but I do believe that it is the first board of directors about 1920. I thought you would be able to see it. These cars are wonderful. And on one of them is the phone number. You know, sometimes technology isn't all that. Oh, here it is. There's a phone number right along there. It's 3 digits. I only remember 4 digits. These are mostly Italians, but with the union taking over, they did open it up to other ethnicities. There's some locals and some French Canadians. Now, when the union had taken over, still only union members who could belong. Now, at this point, they purchased 2 trucks for delivery, shown here, and the union ran the cooperative for about a year, and then the cooperative bought them out and took total control. At this point, they reorganized using the Rochdale principles, which are, excuse me a minute, 1923 in England, in Rochdale, England, there was a large mill community and not a lot of work. And a bunch of their workers got together and formed the first cooperative. These are their principles, that it was open membership, democratic control, distribution of surplus in proportion to trade, which the co-op continued to do, payment of limited interest on capital, political and religious neutrality, cash trading, and promotion of education. Members did not have to donate time to run it. They did have a paid staff, and that's a little different. Some co-ops do require that people work there. Members received discounts on their purchases, and the discount was dependent on how many shares they owned. At the end of the year, any profit was shared with members. Proxy voting was not allowed. All right, they moved into their first real store about 1920, and Dave and I we haven't really pinned down this store location. I think it was at 76 Main Street, although you'll find out later, the numbers are kind of odd. And this says this was taken in 1922. They didn't have a lot of variety of things, but they did offer to their members the staples at less cost. Now, they did run at a loss for a while, which prompted the cooperative to offer shares to the general public. Membership was open to anyone, and non-members could shop, but they wouldn't receive the discounts or rebates. They also joined the Cooperative League of America. Cooperatives were becoming a popular thing, which interested me quite a bit because it does have a socialistic kind of feeling to it, but I don't know enough about politics to speak to that. Now, I believe this is Carl Campo in this truck. At first we thought it was a Tiziani, but this is one of their other trucks. The photo's on Prospect Street in the mid-1920s. At this time, business was improving, but there was still discord. They withdrew from the Cooperative League of America. And in 1927, they joined the Eastern Cooperative League. And this was really a turning point for the cooperative. The Eastern Cooperative League allowed the members, to get fire insurance at cheaper rates, correspondence pool, training and conferences, and joint buying of groceries for the stores. The Cooperative League, the Eastern States Cooperative League, was actually formed in 1924, and in 1928, their annual convention was held here in Stafford. But it became an excellent source of education and inspiration. And this is one of the, I think it was monthly bulletins that they put out. Now this is the front of that store at 76 Main Street. I still can't figure out where it was. This is a close-up.
I think so.
Well,
Marcos.
the second store was higher up across the street from Hudson Garage.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's the next store. So, and the numbers that they gave in the directory and on the back of some of the photos say 141 Main Street, but like Dave said, the numbers don't go that high. So, the next building at least is standing. I'm hoping somebody out there has a photo of the outside of the first store. If there's the photo of the inside, there must be one of the outside. So, yes, that's Attilio Serafin on the right. He was 23 and he was the manager. All of his other work help there are all 19. It was definitely a very young, they hired young people. Actually, I should catch up a little bit. In 1928, they had outgrown the first store, speaking of the second one, and they built the new one at 141 Main Street. This location had a room upstairs for business and social meetings. Also, in 1928, I have it wrong here, was the 4th annual convention of the Eastern States Cooperative League. Convention goers stayed at the Springs Hotel. and that helped bring in quite a bit of business at that time to the town. In 1929, a few members were actively involved in establishing the Eastern States Cooperative Wholesale. The co-op purchased $50 worth of stock and became one of the 10 charter members. This enabled them to purchase a greater variety and better quality of groceries. Also, of course, in 1929, the stock market crashed. And I expected to read articles of the cooperative going under. There wasn't. And actually, I did read one item that said that they did extend credit to their members, but it didn't seem to face them, any more than it did the rest of the country. The big thing was, in 1931, they opened the Federal Credit Union that was associated with them. And it was open only to members, and they offered lower interest loans and higher dividends. Now, in 1931, they bought Woods Market, which was a meat market, and it was either right next door to or across the street from the second store. George Woods had several stores in town. I found some pictures at various locations, and he had been in business for 40 years. The co-op had planned to add a meat market anyway, so this was an excellent addition. They moved all the equipment into their new building, and they had meat on one side and groceries on the other. Around this time, they also started offering coal through the cooperative. Attilio Seraphin had made an arrangement with Ruby Lumber to purchase the coal at wholesale prices. Mr. Seraphin said they sold a lot of coal. The big thing, apparently economically, for the co-op in the 1930s was this strike that happened in 1934. There were strikes at woolen mills all through Connecticut, and this was a particularly long one. The cooperative continued to extend credit to customers, which took a toll on the business. An auditor from New York City was called in and reviewed the books. They said that the store needed to close down because there was no way the co-op could recoup the money that they owed. But they soldiered on, they decided to stay in business, and within a few years they had all their debts paid off. As an aside, in 1936 there were 20 other food stores in Stafford. Some were independent and others were small chain stores. That just absolutely floored me when I read that. It's like, we're having trouble getting another one. And they had 30. In 1937, the co-op opened a gas station at Heath Plains, which now I understand was Olympic Field up at that area. But it was a short-lived endeavor. When the supplier discovered the business was a cooperative, they abruptly stopped their supply, and the business was forced to close. So there was still some judgment about the cooperative movement. The cooperative had a lot of different things now. Of course, they have the credit union. They expanded into the second store. They have a baseball team, which apparently they won this year in 1939 against the Central Package Store Hageliners. They also had a restaurant, which I haven't quite figured out. It's possible that it was the diner that became Louis' Diner, because Attilio Seraphin said it was not a very long-lived thing, but the restaurant purchased all their items from the co-op, and they just ended up taking it over. And he said it was very small. It was actually a diner, and that is the one you think of in town. So one year, they were always looking for things that they could bring in to sell to their customers. As you all know, it was a very customer-oriented business. And one year, they purchased 500 pounds of wine grapes from California for the Italian winemakers in town. The co-op even crushed the grapes for them, which I thought was very nice. It was not lucrative, however, and they did that only 1 year. They found it really didn't have as much. I bet it went into a lot of profit somewhere. 1940, they modernized the second building. They had about 500 members at this point. So this is the one that was Mako's hardware store. Okay. And that one's still standing. It's just a storage building, I guess, at this point.
That's the diner right next to it.
Yes, and that's what made me think that maybe it was what became Louis' Diner. Now, Dave was just saying that the diner was brought in on a railroad car and put there, so perhaps I need to do a little research on that and go through and see who the owners of it were. I know your father owned it for a while, right?
Oh, where Mako's stores his appliances.
Yeah.
And this is the open house celebration of the 1940 remodeling. Now, we have some of these people identified, but mostly we don't. So if anybody has an amazing memory, even though you're probably not old enough to remember, want to sit down and go through the picture, very happy to take the time with you. 1941, they had 3 trucks on the road. 2 were grocery and 1 was meat. They had regular customers, they called on daily, they took the orders, and then came back the next day with their order. They also offered fresh bread and pastries on the truck that the customers could buy that day. Now, World War II put a demand on the meat market because of the rationing. So in 1943, the co-op built Home Pride Provisions, and abattoir, nice thing, I guess, on Furnace Hollow Road. Then they could offer a greater variety and volume of meat at the store. By the 1960s, Home Pride became one of the largest meat suppliers in New England. In 1944, the co-op purchased the former Delmonico drugstore on Main Street. They were always looking for new businesses, apparently. They offered pharmacy drugs and veterinarian supplies, which is an interesting combination. That wasn't financially successful, and it was sold a few years later to Edward Newman. Another thing that they did is, in conjunction with the University of Connecticut Home Extension Service, they offered classes to women, homemaking instructions, nursery class, teenage club, and they were all held over in the room, over the store.
I went to school upstairs.
Really?
I remember the teacher.
Oh,
It was like pre-kindergarten.
oh. Now, was it like with the Italian, was it mostly Italian families, or was it a combination of that one?
It was 70 years ago. Before.
So there's a new thing. Very good. That's good to know.
My father worked at the co-op.
Oh, he did. All right. Okay, well, so please continue to, anything you can add. Perhaps you could shed light on this. There were banquets, but were these banquets of the members or the board of directors? I wasn't able to figure that out.
Italian club. That's what the Italian club.
Okay. So,
Yeah. Windows. Yeah.
and the next one apparently, I don't know,
I
somebody
have
said.
that one too.
Oh. Well, I bet you have some that we don't have. And we're doing this digital scanning project that if you might be interested. Someone said this could be Maple Grove.
Yeah.
I never saw it when it was like this, so I don't know. Now, in 1954, we'll skip ahead a little bit, they built the new store. And this is a store that many of us know. I moved into town in 1989. It's the only, and I didn't even know what the co-op was. Didn't know if I could shop there. Looked a little different than this. But the grand opening was in November, the 3rd store. By 1954, the cooperative had outgrown their 2nd store, so they purchased land at West Main Street and High Street and built this store. This was the first modern grocery store in Stafford, and it caused quite a bit of excitement, obviously, for hundreds of families to stand out in the cold on a November night, rainy November night in 1954. And I had trouble finding a picture of the facade at that time. This is one of the few pictures, and it's really only half of the photo, but that I could find. At this point, I started using a lot of newspaper articles.
Becky, can I just add a little something? My father worked there his whole career, and that's 1954. I was 4 years old, and right about halfway down on the right there, there was a window where they would bring, right about there, down on a level, and that's where they would deliver boxes down into the basement on a not a conveyor, but it had wheels on it, and they would just slide it down. And they'd let my brother and I get in the boxes when they were finished, and we'd go down into the basement, and so
Pays to know somebody.
pays to know somebody, yes.
That's great, but I think that also speaks again to the fact that, the cooperative was like a big family. That everybody knew everybody. They might not know what the children were doing and sliding down the ramp there. But certainly people knew your name. And I got a very nice homey feeling from many of the things that I read at this point. This is a 1955 share certificate. We actually have it up here. That belonged to Sue Cartier. It represents 2 shares that were $5 each. And this was a fun picture that I found in the newspaper. That's Attilio Serafin. I don't know who the other person is, but apparently he bought a lot of watermelon and needed to sell it pretty quickly. So they put that wagon out front and they sold all the watermelon. That was in 1959. And of course, the store continued to expand. In 1959, they purchased the Dickinson House and the property adjacent to the store. Found out that Dave's grandparents lived in this house. It looks like it was quite a lovely building. It was torn down, and they expanded over to Church Street. Yep. And they almost doubled their square footage in that expansion. In the same year, they also purchased a tract of 60 acres of land on Munson Road with the Industrial Foundation for Industrial Development. Now, that's not something I found out more about, although I tried to do more research. I guess it would probably take going down to the town hall, but they definitely just kept growing. And in 1961, they turned 50. This was the co-opetizer, which apparently was a bulletin that they sent out. I wasn't able to tell how long. We have several copies from the 1960s. We don't have any before, so I don't know how long it went on. It had articles in it, recipes, talked about storing food, quite a variety. Might mention something about someone in town. I did notice that as well. This gave an excellent history of the co-op for me as I was doing the research. Now, at this time, they had about 1,800 members. And talking about the expansion, they had expanded by 8,200 square feet, and they offered a deli, a bakery, and they had a complete seafood department. There were 5 checkout counters for quick checkout. That was a big deal. We were moving towards more modern times. They added a kitchen at Home Pride for cold cut demands, and they put an air-conditioned office at Home Pride. At this time, there were 9 men on the board of directors and 7 managers in the store. Attilio Serafin had been the produce manager for 27 years, but he, of course, had actually worked there longer than that. In the 1960s, the cooperative movement had a resurgence along with the trend toward health food. The co-op benefited from this, but remained a full-serve grocery store not geared towards the health food movement. In 1966, they purchased 2 more adjacent lots, giving them a total of 1 acre. And one thing that David had said to me today is that he had worked there in later 1960s, and that they had summer parties for the employees, and the types of things that businesses used to do that many don't anymore. But again, still sounded like a big family. And speaking of Dave,
That's my father.
Yes.
Father, that's his father, every father.
Okay, I knew that it was somebody who was coming. I didn't, haven't put them together yet. You all are kind of dark out there. Yeah, so this is our Dave Bartlett working in the meat department at the co-op with Henry Gelato. And it's very nice of you to share this photo with us. Thank you.
Elaine's father.
We actually have 2 copies, I didn't tell you that. Now, as of 1979, there were only 2 of the dozens of co-ops that have been established in Connecticut. It had been a booming thing. As a matter of fact, Attilio Serafin had spent most of his career driving around southern New England to set up co-ops, and they were all over. But in Connecticut, it was just Stafford and New Haven at that point. So this one lasted. Now, moving ahead a little bit, in 1983, the co-op expanded again, and this, again, almost doubling their square footage. They had 3,500 members and 45 employees. The refrigeration and freezer units from 1954 were replaced. It must have been about time. And they added computer technology. The bylaws were revamped. Members with $100 in shares received 1% discount off each grocery bill. This was on a sliding scale up to $500. This increased share capital for the business. Members would still get their year-end cash dividends and shares. The annual rebates from 1% to 3% were based on total purchases, depending upon overhead and profit. Members got 5% interest on their shares. In 1987, they started a home delivery service for the elderly and shut-ins, and once a week had a bus service for seniors at Avery Park to come to the store and shop. We could use a lot more of that. Despite expansion and reorganization, the store started to experience a decline. Although in 1986, they celebrated their 75th anniversary, this was the only picture I could find of that event. You know, 2 women shopping. But that's what it was about. At this point, they had 3,000 members. And I believe that, I'm not sure how many they had at the end, but I think that this was getting up towards the peak. Now, I feel bad because I didn't find a lot from the 70s or the 80s about the store. That's really when a lot of people have memories of the store. You know, certainly I know you have memories earlier than that, but a lot of younger people do. But the big thing was that in 1989, the shareholders voted to sell. The store wasn't profiting, and it was selling with growing debt. There was a run on people turning in their shares, and Home Pride was sold the same year. In 1990, the building and business were sold to Thomas Fitzgerald and John Glenbaki, and it became the Stafford Food Center. In 2010, the lot was bought by West Main Street Holdings, LLC, and the store started to decline all the more. And as we all know, in 2014, the building was torn down and a CVS was built on the site. And I have a much greater appreciation for what the co-op was to Stafford, and really to the state. It's the second oldest co-op in the country. The first one was in Ohio. It ran for 79 years, survived the Great Depression, strikes, rationing, World War II, recessions, and the change from small stores to box stores. It is an integral part of the history of Stafford Springs in the 20th century. And that's it. If anyone has any questions or happy to have you. You can also come up and look at our collection of co-op things up here. And, you know, if you have stories that you want to share about the co-op, please, I'd like to spend some time and talk about that.
Yeah, if anyone would like to look at any of the co-op memorabilia, the new acquisitions, talk to Becky. Brian is here with his oral history book of Staffordville. If anyone would like to purchase one of those, Brian, you want to set up in the back there? Okay. I'll invite you to help yourself with some refreshments and just stay around and socialize a little bit. Thank you.
And I still need to go back.